It's GT Vibe Podcast coming to another episode. I appreciate you guys rocking with me, rolling with me. As we get back in the swing of things, my back is killing me today. So if I kind of like shrug the shoulders a lot, just this FYI for you guys. Today we're going to talk about spiritual warfare. We're going to talk about some experiences that I've had, some things that I've seen, some things I've talked to people about that have kind of gone through this. Um, Essentially, the Bible speaks heavily. I got my Bible right here, but sometimes it's easier for me to read it from my phone. Uh, so let's see here. So basically, when it comes down to spiritual warfare, um, when it comes to war, you think about the Gulf War, you think about World War I, World War II, those things. Um, when we went over to Afghanistan and we went to war, and you could see the battle, right? You can see you can see the army on both sides. You can see the uniforms that they're wearing, and you could tell that these guys are from different sides, right? You can tell, right? And so that's the visible war. That's the visual that we have of war. And I think that we as Christians forget sometimes that the visual that we have of war isn't necessarily the same as the wars that we fight, right? Our wars aren't fought with people with different uniforms. Our wars aren't fought with people speaking different languages. Our wars aren't fought with guns, knives, things like that. And so we have to understand the battlefield that we fight on is not something that you can just see. And I think that that's where people get it wrong because when God sent Satan, when he cast him out of heaven down to the earth, Satan is not a human being, right? He's a fallen angel essentially. So so thinking that the battle with evil, which is him and his fallen angels that came with him, it's a spiritual battle. This is a battle that you can't see, but you can feel it, right? If you're in tune with yourself, your spirit, your soul, you can feel these battles. And I think most Christians don't understand, like I said in a prior podcast, we got to know who the enemy is. If you don't know who your enemy is, how can you fight? That would be like if we, as America, if we go over to China and we're like, hey, we're going to go to war with China, man. They cause some destruction over here. We're going to go to war with China, but we don't know what China looks like. We don't know what their uniforms look like. We don't know them, right? How can you go to battle and actually have a battle if you don't know what your enemy actually looks like? So, in the spiritual realm of the spiritual battles and the things that we face as Christians, most of the time our enemy looks like us, act like us, talk like us. Because you got to think, when Satan was cast down, right? Satan wanted to be God. Like yes, that's the reason why he got cast out of heaven. He wanted to be God. So, do you think Satan's going to operate different than God? No, he's going to be as close. It's kind of like the Walmart brand, essentially. You go down there, you get onto the cereal aisle, and you got the Walmart brand of cereal, right? You got Cheerios, and you got the Walmart, whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it, but they have a different. They have their own Walmart brand. It's a knockoff brand, right? Similar to the actual Cheerios themselves, but not the same, right? That's what we are facing when it comes to the spiritual warfare and the battles that we face out here um, amongst when you go out into the world. And so you have to understand that these battles, it's like you're playing chess essentially, because we all have the same pieces, right? And so when it comes to spiritual warfare and battles, um, sometimes God will put you in there. You get tagged in. It's time for you to go, right? And you got to go in there and you got to handle business when it comes time to battle. You got to go in there and you got to take care of business. You can't go into battle and expect somebody else to do things for you, right? Sometimes you are in a battle by yourself. Can you latch on to other Christians? Can you have conversations with your brothers and sisters to gain clarity? Yes. but but they can't fight the battle for you because it's a battle that God has placed in front of you. This is your battle, right? And with God, you can win any battle that's been placed out in front of you. He doesn't ever put you in a battle that you can't win. Um, it's technically a win-win situation when it comes to Jesus. You just got to follow his lead. And so we're going to talk about following his lead a little bit today. And I promise I won't go too long. I tend to get long-winded sometimes, but today my goal is to keep it um, in that 14, 15-minute range. So I'm going to try my best to get it all squeezed in here, and then we'll plow through it. So think about spiritual warfare. Think about some of the spirits that were spoken of in the Bible. Um, Jezebel's like the biggest one. Um, and I think it's more because of the culture in today's climate and what we live in that people speak about Jezebel the most. It's probably the most uh, manipulative spirit out there. It's the most controlling. And so it's all about seeking control. So the spirit of control, right, is spiritual warfare. Wanting to control people is spiritual warfare because God gave us the free will to do the things that we feel like we need to do. And so control does not come from God. The spirit of controlling people does not come from God. It's not a godly trait, right? Because godly traits are allowing people to do as they please. Now you understand who they are as a person based on their actions, but you don't try to control their actions to mold them into whatever you want them to be, right? So, number one, what we're talking about today is the spirit of control. If you have a friend, a partner, parent, kid, whatever, uh, that is extremely controlling, that you need to pray for them because that spirit of control does not come from God. It's not a fruit that God put places up in us because it's not our job to control people. It's our job to teach people and try to get them onto the right path. But as far as control goes, that's not godly. That's something that comes from evil. And so when you have somebody that's extremely wanting to control everything and every move, people and the thing about this is that they'll use it, they'll say, well, I'm comfortable. It makes me comfortable. But it's not wanting control is about more than just being comfortable. Wanting control is about way more than being comfortable. I think that's something that people say just to throw it out there and make it sound good, but it doesn't sound good. No matter how you spin control, it is not godly. It's not biblical. Um, so having a partner, having a friend that is wanting to control your moves, how you operate, that is not from Jesus. Now, you have to understand that in order for you to be able to make the positive and right moves and move things in the right direction. So if you don't have the understanding that, hey, control is not a good thing, it's actually a bad thing, and you don't see that, it's because you don't know anything about the enemy, how the enemy works, right? The enemy seeks to control us enough to take our souls. We're in a soul battle. It's a battle for, hey, he wants your soul. And you get in relations with people that you don't realize have this demonic spirit inside of them. And so they want your soul. They want to destroy you, right? Now the problem is God don't play about his people. And I think that you know, some the demonic spirits understand it. They know God don't play about his people, but because of who they are, because of what they represent, they're still going to test those boundaries. So they will come and they will try to mess with God's people. Right now, there's no wrath like the wrath of God. Once God sets his sights on you and his wrath is coming down upon you, it's not a battle that we fight no more, right? We don't fight that battle. People want to fight battles with words all the time. Oh, I got to have the last word. I got to say the last thing. I want to get these words out. Sometimes, closure, having no closure is the best closure that you could possibly get, right? In some situations, having no closure is the best closure that you could possibly get in the situation because God will be the closure for you. And so if you do what he asks you to do and what he needs you to do, he will be the closure for you. And then those doors will close. Those are doors that'll close and never open. Because if you go back for closure sometimes, you got a friend that left you, you got a wife, you got a husband, you got a boyfriend, you got a girlfriend, whatever it may be, that has said, okay, I'm done with you, you don't need to go back to them for closure. They made their decision. You can't control them. Allow God to work in those rooms. And so God says in Proverbs 24:15-16, do not lurk like a thief near the house of the righteous. Do not plunder their dwelling place. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. And so calamity is an event causing great and often sudden damage or distress, a disaster. Calamity is like a disaster. So think of it like that, as a disaster. So he's saying, don't lurk like a thief, because that's what demons do. They will lurk, they will hang around, they will hang on, they will breadcrumb, cookie crumb, whatever you want to call it. And so they want to keep you around because they see the light. They want to dim your light. One thing my mom always told me, she said, you learn a lot about people after the relationship is over. Whether it's a romantic relationship or it's a friendship, you learn a lot about the people when it's over. And so when a relationship is over, if you are a righteous individual, you don't feel the need to say anything about the other person because you know that that person, who they are, is going to come out regardless of what's said and what's not said. So you understand that. You get that piece, right? And so God handles that. But the other person, if they're not righteous, they're gonna try to gang up on you because they understand the power that you bring to the situation because of who you are in Christ, right? And people see that light. People ain't dumb. Demons and evil spirits, they see the light. They're not stupid. We may treat them like they're stupid, but they ain't dumb. They are extremely intelligent, and they understand that you have to do certain things to be able to get people off their position. And so most of the time, when we get in these battles and these spiritual warfares, as Christians, we get out of position. And that's the problem. When you get out of position, there's an alignment with God that has to happen. When you get out of position, it's hard for God to be able to really protect you because you're out of position. You got to stay in position. It's hard for God to be able to give you the playbook if you don't come to the huddle to get the play that's being called. How are you going to run the play and you don't even know the play? So for us as Christians, for us to be able to get to a point where we understand that, we have to be in position. So that's the number two thing. So first, number one, be weary of controlling spirits. Be weary of controlling spirits. Number two, as Christians, be in position. Understand where you are and what you need to be doing. If you get out of position, if you're a wife and you get out of position, you meet a guy and he makes you feel good, right? You feel good, you get the good feelings, all that jazz. That dude will ruin your marriage and you. If you're a man, you're married, there's a woman that comes along, does everything that your wife ain't doing, makes you feel good about yourself. That person will ruin your relationship and ruin you too at the same damn time. They're not coming there to help you. Anybody that comes in and understands that you are with somebody and wants to pursue you anyway is not there for you. Their person is not there for you. They are there for themselves. And there's something within them, right? Control, something within them that causes them to act that certain way. Ain't nobody going, a person that really loves and cares about you ain't going to make you do wrong. That's one thing that my mom always told me. A person that actually loves and cares about you will lead you on the right path. You will do the right things because this individual actually cares about you and loves you. A loving person don't lead people astray. Now, people who lead people astray, God will deal with them, and that's a rat that you don't want to mess with. And I think that people think that God won't do anything, or people are worried about karma. Don't worry about karma. It ain't the karma. Vengeance is not yours. God took that in His hands. So worrying about somebody else's karma, that is not your job. Our job is to make sure that when we get tagged into the war, when we get tagged into the battle, that we go out there and we are equipped and we understand what it is we're looking for. We understand what the assignment is. That's our job. Right? Number three, understand what the assignment is. What is our assignment? Right? What are we being called to do? And why are we being called to do it? That's all I got for this one, though, guys. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Some medical stuff back here. I don't know. I can't read it. I'm not a medical person. I'm a law enforcement officer. I can read 10 codes and I can read reports. That's it. Other than that, I can read case law. I can't. I don't know what none of that GI bleeding. I don't know what none of that means. So, but I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Keep pushing. Keep praying. Right. Get down on those knees for Jesus. He got you. You know, even when times get hard, understand The Lord has your back. Nobody will ever have your back quite like he does. Thank you guys. This is GT the Vibe Podcast. Again, please like, subscribe, and share. I'm out.